What if sex was never meant to be confusing, just beautifully designed? Welcome to Sex Rebranded, the podcast that cuts through the noise with bold biblical conversations about sex, marriage, and holistic health. You'll hear the candid perspective of a true newlywed, gain practical wisdom from a mom of 3 young kids, and insight from a doctorally prepared nurse and menopause champion herself. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Well, let's get started. And Nate and Lynsey, introduce yourselves and share what marriage in the middle means to you guys.
My name is Nathan, obviously, and this is Lynsey. We've been married for 11 years. Our lead pastors in Nashville, Tennessee, had a church called Bellshire Assembly. And we have 3 awesome kids, mostly awesome.
Like 80% awesome.
Yeah, Graceland, she's 9. Cruz, he is 6. And then Jackson, he is 4. And we've been in ministry together for 11 years, but total about 14.
Yeah. So, and we say our kids are amazing, and they are. I think that's really honestly what kind of makes this feel like the season of marriage in the middle. You know, we were talking about, earlier, well, what constitutes being in the middle of marriage? Because you have your newlywed season, and, some people consider if you've been married anywhere from, 0 days to 2.5 years. But I think really it's you've been married for a couple of years. You have maybe 1 kid, maybe you have several kids, maybe you don't have any kids, and maybe up until like your 20-year mark. But I think that's what makes this season of life so special and unique, is that you really have gotten to know your spouse for a couple of years, and you're just in that sweet spot.
Well, tell me, guys, your love story. So how you met and what drew you guys to each other. And I see a little hint of it in the back behind you guys.
Which was not planned, by the way. So that worked out.
This is not where we were born. This is not our favorite town. This is where we went to college. Waxahachie, Texas. Some locals get really offended if you don't pronounce it correctly.
Right.
But we went to college. It is now called Nelson University. At the time, it was Southwestern Assemblies of God University, which is probably why they shortened it to Nelson. But we were friends for 2.5 years and didn't start dating until our senior year. Our senior year. Obviously, as a friend, I'd known her for a long time. Kind of hung out in the same friend groups, thought highly of her. Typical guy. I'm sure girls maybe did this too. Maybe they're not like that. But me and my best friend, we would always rate like, hey, this is the best girl our campus has. And Lynsey was number 2 my first semester.
And not
and
number
the second
1.
one. And I won't say who number 1 is because I never told her, even though we were friends. But then the more I got to know Lynsey,
I rose up.
I would tell my friend, like, man, she's awesome. She's going to be a blessing to somebody. And then my senior year, we started dating.
Yeah. The rest is history, right?
Yeah.
So I guess from my perspective, I went to this the same college as Nate, and I really had known for years that I wanted to attend there. And so get to college, and I dated a couple people, went on maybe 1 or 2 dates.
None of them as good as me. And if you're watching, you know that.
So yeah, it wasn't until our senior year, we were both RA. So we both were there on campus about a month before, and we had known of each other, had done similar things together. And yeah, we just kind of hit it off our senior year. Dated for 6 months, got engaged, and wouldn't maybe recommend that for everybody, but it worked out for us. And then we got married 6 months later. So the time span for us was started dating in October of, what would that have been, 2013?
Yeah.
And then we got married the following October in 2014.
Yeah, definitely don't recommend that for everybody. But I really started to like her the end of my junior year. And she told me the same, but thought even more of me our senior year. But I almost backed out of an internship I had already said yes to at the assembly in Broken Arrow. He was going on a missions trip in India, going to a bunch of like sex trafficking places. Like that's what she was working with. And there was no guys on that missions trip whatsoever. And I was like, oh,
He's like,
man,
I don't know.
I'm really starting to like you, and you're about to go to India working in sex trafficking with no guys. I might say no to this internship and go on this mission trip. I didn't though, and it's
right.
worked out.
We got some guys to come with us, so I was safe. I made it back, but yeah. So that's kind of our story in a roundabout. But
And so I assume going to a Christian college, you may have felt like the ring by spring pressure or the pressure to get married in college. I did not feel that pressure because I am still in college and I got married, but at the university I go to, it is not Christian. And I am the anomaly and I am the exception. So, how did you guys know that you were ready to be married, you were marrying the right person, and you weren't rushing the situation?
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
question. First, shout out Caden. He's a real one. He may be the anomaly, but you got the good one.
Yep.
Here we go.
I think by spring very much is a thing. I mean, not just at Nelson, but I've talked to other friends that went to other Christian colleges, whether it's Assemblies of God, Baptist, Church of Christ, Methodist, it doesn't matter. There was definitely a lot of kids that were looking
Yeah.
for
A
their
lot of pressure.
MRS degree or their, what's the one for girls? I forget what they call it for girls, but,
Well, I think it is MRS degree for
or
girls.
for dudes. There's dudes definitely
Yeah.
looking for,
I know
their
there's a
their
name for it,
spouse.
but
So the MRS degree, and then guys like, hey, I just want to be married. Like we had some people in our dorm that dated for 2 weeks, got engaged, and married in 2 weeks.
yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, that marriage did not last. But yeah, it was very much a real thing. I would be walking through campus, and across the courtyard, I would hear people yell at me, people I didn't even really know. And they're like, Nathan, you need to marry so and so. She'd make a great wife. You should, wife her up. And I'm like, no, hard pass. No, thank you. But yeah, it's definitely a real thing.
Right. I feel like as you get into college, it can be a vulnerable time to begin with. And so you really need to know yourself. You really need to know, not necessarily make a checklist of he has to look like this, but okay, these are the qualities that I'm looking for that are non negotiables. And, when you meet somebody who you think, okay, maybe they have some of these checklist items, and you really begin to, well, number one, pray, okay, Lord, is this truly what you have for me? And maybe some red flags or some yellow flags begin to be revealed, then you don't collect money. You get to stop and you keep going, right? It's like finding the person that doesn't just sound right on paper, but that the Lord truly has put before you. And there's a lot of people, I think, in a lot of Christian colleges that interject their opinion of, oh, I think so and so would be great for you, but it's something that you have to really bring before the Lord. And I mean, I remember there was a couple different days that I went on, and all of these guys were great, but they were not for me. Clearly, they were not Nate. And deep down, I knew that. And I think there are, unfortunately, a lot of women who look past that check in their in their heart that's from the Holy Spirit and may want to get married a little sooner, or may see someone who fits the package on the outside but doesn't all of those qualities on the inside. And so just advice for someone who knows that they're going to go to a Christian college or maybe is there right now, that you have to stick with the qualities that the Lord has given you and don't try to appeal to anyone. Don't try to date just to date, but be intentional with what you're looking for. Don't look back and know that, God knows the desires of your hearts. And, Psalm 37:4, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. So how do you align yourself with what God has for you? And that's the question you have to ask is, God, I just want to be so delighted in you that you're going to reveal the person for me and you're going to bring that on your time and not mine.
Yeah, I think regardless of school, regardless of age, because I mean, there's people that are 30 and still single and praying that prayer over
Yeah.
and over again. There is a book that oftentimes get overlooked in the Bible, that's Song of Solomon. And I don't know, I always got told if it gets repeated, it's important, like take note of it.
Mhm.
And one of the things I remember reading in Song of Solomon is, regardless of, depending on your translation, it said, don't awaken love before the time is right. I think sometimes if you're not careful, you can put an urgency, you can put an expectation of, oh, I got to be married, especially if you're at a Christian school and you want to be a pastor, public or private school, or 30 years old. You can put all this weight and pressure on you to just give it to God. God knows the desires of your heart and He cares about it. And so just don't awaken love before it's right. Don't date
Yeah.
somebody just because they show interest in you. That's always something that I tried to be careful of and considerate of. I didn't want to just date somebody because I found them attractive. I didn't want to just date somebody because they were athletic. I knew that I had a calling on my life and I wanted to date somebody and marry somebody who had a calling on their life as well. Because I'd seen a lot of pastors who were incredible, every gift you could imagine, but their spouse had no interest whatsoever in serving in the church. And I didn't want that. And she is the polar opposite of that. She loves serving at church. She'll do things far above and beyond anything I could have ever asked on that.
Well, thank you guys for sharing that dating advice. And then fast forward to now, to your current season of life. What are just some of your favorite things about it? And yeah, what are your favorite things about this current season of marriage?
I love that question. You never want to just look forward to the next season of life because there's so much beauty in the current season that you're in. But I honestly love the season of being married 10 plus years. I feel like we really know each other and also getting to do life with our kids. Our kids are 9, 6, and 4, and they're at such fun ages where their personalities are coming out. We're able to do things with them. We see ourselves in them, which is really cool. We have, a little boy who is our middle Cruz, and he is
Best
like,
kid.
he's like a little mini Nate. And it's so fun because he just has this gentle spirit. And I just love, seeing life through his eyes. Our daughter is our oldest. She's 9. She's got this adventurous, fun personality. Our youngest is 4, and he's just wild and crazy in every possible way and just makes us laugh all the time. I think
And
just,
cry.
and
Yeah, and cry.
yeah, we cried a little bit today,
Yeah, he broke our new TV upstairs, threw a Hot Wheel car at it. So
right in the
yeah,
middle. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
right yesterday, right before playoff games. I didn't get to watch them on my nice
no.
big TV. I had to watch them on little tiny over there.
So prayers for me this week as we walk through that.
Costco, please bless me.
But I think it definitely life keeps us on our toes for sure. But that's what makes it fun in the season.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things fun to it. 11 years in, I'm
Mhm.
continuing to get to know Lynsey more. Obviously, I know her a whole lot better than I did October 24th of 2014, and then the times we dated in college. But the more I get to know her, the sweeter and the better she gets. But it's just fun. It's a fun season with 3 kids. They're so fun. They're a blessing. It's fun watching them be magnetized to their mom, carrying some of the character that she has, some of the character that we have together, and it
Mhm.
just created fun moments and memories with them.
And then how has your marriage changed or how have you grown? Um, and what's changed about since your early years to now?
Yeah. When I first read this question, I told her what I was going to say, and she slapped me on the shoulder. She goes, "Nate." But the first couple, so I grew up. My mom is pretty much can do everything, and if I'm not careful, I kind of carried that expectation into it. And so through marriage counseling, we kind of walked through that. My mom is an incredible cook, incredible baker. My dad, not so much. So she did most of the cooking, and so I guess in my head, I was like, "Oh, my wife is going to do most of the cooking." The first couple of meals,
Delicious.
they were
Horrible.
yeah, we had Uber on standby a lot.
Not even before Uber Eats came out, but
Yeah, I was trying to make us not
Pizza delivery.
probably DiGiorno because we were
we were poor
youth
post-college
pastors,
kids.
but she's come a long way. Way better cook. It's fun
Thanks,
cooking with
babe.
her. But I think some of the things that we've realized is, I've read a lot of books on marriage and family. And one of the ones that I know we've all talked about is the 5 love languages. And it's one thing to know what their love language is. It's another to actually take the time to speak to them and to give them with how they receive love. But then I think there's another form to that. There's another book from Erwin McManus talking about the 7 levels of communication. Everybody communicates differently and everybody receives
Mhm.
communication differently. And I think early on, I would communicate to her like I would communicate to one of my friends, like how I understand and receive things. And then I get frustrated if it wasn't remembered or internalized or understood. And so I've learned 11 years in she best receives communication and how we best talk to each other and have conversations that I can't talk to her the way I talk to myself.
Well, and I think too, after, we've been married for 11, going on 12 years this
She
year,
hesitated there. I was like,
but
oh, she doesn't
I
remember.
have to do math. But it's knowing that just as much as you mature individually, that should follow you in your marriage. Your marriage should mature. Our prayer has always been, Lord, refine us. Lord, make us into the couple that you want us to be for your kingdom. And not just being okay with being the 23-year-old that I was when I married you, but saying, okay, Lord, I want to grow individually with my own emotional maturity. I want to grow in my own spiritual maturity, and making sure that that flows over into our marriage has been a great thing. I think we have this richness, this depth about our marriage, that not saying that we were not rich and filled with depth when we were 4 months in, but it's a different kind of richness. It's a different kind of depth. We went through a very difficult season in 2022 with our youngest. While on vacation in Florida, was diagnosed with HSV-1 meningitis, and it was a very serious diagnosis. I had to stay in Florida when they went back home to Oklahoma at the time with our other 2 kids. And we had some really it was a grim diagnosis for the first couple of days until we had his treatment under control. And, you know, it's because of who we were, and it's because of the relationship that we had with each other that we navigated that storm. And I think we did so well because we put our faith not in each other, but we put our faith truly in the Lord. And so that's, I think, where a lot of couples, if they can just get that, if they can just understand that in difficult seasons, if you can put your trust in the Lord, not in each other, and lead not on your own understanding, but in all your ways, acknowledge the other person and acknowledge that there's imperfections, but growing together and learning together, then it's going to get you so much further.
Yeah, 100%. But also not to undersell like the church community. That season I came back from vacation, jumped right into 150K days, jumped into missions training and all these different things. And if it
People
wasn't
carried us
for the
through.
people of our church and our relationship, it would have been
Oh, yeah.
terrible. Like it would have been so hard.
So this is kind of on a similar note. So in seasons that are just very overwhelming and stressful, and it doesn't have to be seasons like the hospital stay in, because I know that's like a whole nother level of stress and like feelings of overwhelmness, but just like your typical like feelings of fullness from like work or just like having kids. What do you do to stay connected when life gets busy?
Yeah, it's a very important question. As pastors, it's always very stressful. I forget which publications have found this. I think it was Forbes magazine or something like that. But it was the top 3 most stressful jobs. Ministry is always in the top
Mhm.
3. The other 2 are like a lawyer and a radiologist or something like that. But ministry can be very stressful because you're always on and you're dealing with people in their best moments and in their worst moments. Where in our season of life, we have 3 kids, 9, 6, and 4. We've been married for 11 years, but we went from youth ministry for the last 10 plus years to trying to revitalize a church here in Nashville. And that's an animal in of itself. And so if I'm not careful, I can focus so much on that I'm not being as intentional as I need to with my family. And so I've talked to ministry friends, I've talked to counselors about it because sometimes I can carry a lot of that, whether I'm speaking it or just internalizing it. And some of the best advice I was given was don't take it home with you. And a counselor told me, and my ministry friend said the same thing at different times. But he's like, before you ever get into the house, take some breaths in your car, pray, and then put your keys up in the same spot every single day. It helps because I
Mm.
lose them a lot. So
So it's a double tip
don't,
right
yeah,
there.
don't lose them as much anymore. But both my ministry friend and my counselor, like the moment you put your keys up, every stress, every fear, every doubt, every concern, everything that's causing you
Mhm.
to feel overwhelmed individually stays there. And when I'm home, being as intentional as I can with my kids, trying my best not to wrestle them right when it's bedtime and getting them wired, but being intentional with my kids and my spouse, and whether it's going on walks, doing things that I know they enjoy, and honestly trying to understand my kids' love language and realizing what that is. Cause even at 9, 6, and 4, I know they have one, and speaking that to them. And there's moments where our daughter's quality time, like she just wants to be around
Yeah.
you. And our son, middle son, is affirmation. Jackson is very much gifts. You buy that kid a monster truck, he'll be by you
Be your best
for the
friend.
rest of his life. Just make sure he doesn't throw it at another TV, please.
Yes. Oh gosh. Too soon. Too soon. I think for me, something that I'm still continuing to work on is, I recognize that Nate's day is and can be, there's as well as a lot of couples and families, the husband works, there's a lot of stress involved in being the provider and just overseeing a church and a revitalization. And so for me, it's okay, when he comes home, how can I bring the peace? How can I create joy and moments that are going to maybe take his mind off of things and also just allow us to have fun as a family? And there's a verse, James, I think it's 1:2 or 2:1 that says, "Count it all joy." And the challenge that we have as believers is even in those crazy moments where you're busy, there's a lot going on, is to take some time and just step back from the busyness and the monotony of life and just say, Lord, we're going to find the joy in this and we're going to count all this joy, even if it's crazy and stressful. We're going to be intentional with the moments that we have and creating those moments and those memories. And one thing that there was a previous pastor of ours always encouraged was he would say, hey, as a church, we're going to work hard. And, we're going to require a lot of you. But because of that, we want you to rest hard and we want you to play hard. And so that's become a model for our family is, we're going to work hard. We're going to do this together. We're going to pastor together. But then because we work hard, we are also going to rest hard. And when we're, on, a weekend trip, or this past week, we just went and visited family, we truly did as much as we could try to put our phone down and just be with each other. And then we played hard. We went and had fun. And I think having that model as a family has created some balance, and it's allowed us to bring in joy in those seasons where it's just hard. We have a lot going on. So yeah, bring in the joy.
Yeah. I think that's so important because if your only focus is working hard and you never rest and you never play together, then I mean, you're just going to get burnt out and it's not sustainable. And so you need the other two in order to do the one, really. And I think that's why God created Sabbath and why he wants us to spend time resting too, because it's equally as important. And then I love what Nate said about having the physical place to like put the keys down, and you're not losing your keys as often, and you're also having that like action to remind you, okay, this is where I'm hanging work up and then going to spend time with family and making that transition between work and home life. I think that's great advice. And then what are you guys looking? So it's January 2nd when we're recording. I
Yep.
think today's the 2nd.
How
What are you
crazy.
guys looking forward to most in this next year, individually or as a couple?
That's really good. So, well, I know for me, we have this this podcast, this book that we're writing called Sex Rebranded that I'm very excited for. And I also wrote a book for moms and daughters called Real Feminine. So just letting that take off and just seeing what God does with that. So I think personally, that's what I'm excited for as far as we're work wise. And then, as a couple, as a family, just continuing to create those moments together, continuing to grow our church, continuing to just be an example and just be involved in our community. But yeah, I feel like, and every year you never want to go into it thinking, oh, this is, going to be a crazy year. But it's like, man, thinking, okay, Lord, you have given us another day. We have breath in our lungs. And so we are just going to tackle it head on. And I'm really excited for this year. So I don't really have a word. I've never been one of those people that have like a word for the year, but I'm excited for 2026.
Yeah, I think the last time I was like, oh, you should do a word for the year every single year. It was 2020. And everybody's word for the year was vision. And
Right. Pretty.
yeah, clarity or vision. No one saw that in their vision statement for 2020.
That was not on the 2020 bingo card.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it feels like forever ago, but at the same time, not as long. For me, a couple of things. Another year, creating moments and memories with Lynsey, with our kids, fun things planned, watching, God bless Sex Rebranded and Real Feminine, but continuing to just teach our kids to fall in love with Jesus and to fall in love with his church, regardless of our people that feel its imperfections, creating culture and pulling people in and just continuing through the power of the Holy Spirit in the presence of God to build his church, both locally and
Yeah.
globally. But selfishly, I'm also looking forward to our kids being a little bit older because I kind of got my wrist slapped a couple of times by our HOA because the grass was too long or there was one too many weeds in the mulch. And now our kids are 9 and 7, going on 10 and
Ooh,
7.
yep.
So they don't know this yet,
And you
but
labor.
they're going to be out there pulling weeds and helping
He's like,
me,
we're gonna have the best
helping
yard
me
ever.
make sure my lawn is top
Immaculate.
notch. HOA is no longer like, hey, you had one weed, but they're like, hey, you got the best lawn in our
You
entire.
win.
There you go.
You win. Like, thank you.
It's really why we had 3 kids.
Yeah, I'm up for one more. Plant a garden in the back. But yeah, those are some of the things I'm really looking forward to. Is just taking our kids to some fun experiences that we got them this year for Christmas instead of a bunch of toys they don't play with as much, and just continuing to create fun moments and memories.
And then as we're wrapping up, what encouragement would you leave with couples who feel stuck in the middle in that season of marriage right now? And just what's some advice or encouragement that you would give to them?
That's so good. So I would say don't neglect the little things. There's a lot of things that can happen in your day, and be, I guess, is a challenge. Be intentional about what is something that you can do today to make your spouse's day better. What's something that might seem small or might seem even meaningless to do that can maybe change the way that you view things or they view things. So finding those little things and turning them into something fun that you can do together, never neglecting the time that you have together. And I don't know if it's because you know, now with social media, there's, so many stories and things like that. But truly, we, and not to be like, morbid here, but at the end of the day, none of us know, like, when God is going to call us home. And I never want to take, Nate, stop laughing at me. But it's like, I never want to take for granted the gift that marriage is. Stop it. We have to start this question over again.
She's watched one too many cold case crime drama.
I'll be in bed scrolling on my phone and I just like start sobbing. It's like, what's going on? I'm like, please don't leave it.
Yeah.
Please don't die. But it's like, I think there's so many couples that just neglect their marriage, that think, oh, I can just make it better the next day. And it's no, like every day is truly a gift. And, your marriage is what you make it. And so that would be my encouragement. Your marriage is what you make it. Don't neglect the small things and truly seek to be the best wife or the best husband that you can be.
Yeah, that's great advice. I would echo that, but I would also add one: if you feel stuck, know that you're not alone. There's multiple marriages that struggle. The problem is if you just are content with the struggle, and if you're content with being stuck. God did not design your marriage.
Right.
God did not design for the blessing of a spouse to just feel like it's always a grind.
Right.
Like it should be a blessing,
Yeah.
but it takes work. It takes understanding. It takes patience. It takes benefit of the doubt. It takes love. And obviously as a pastor, it takes Christ at the center of your marriage. If he's not at the center, you're constantly going to be orbiting around the wrong thing, and you're going to keep feeling stuck. But if you feel stuck, know that you're not alone, but talk to somebody. Talk to a pastor. If you don't feel like you can talk to your pastor, find someone, find a relationship, a marriage that you look up to. Take them to dinner, take them to coffee, and just ask questions. Be honest, be open, honest, and transparent with them. Like, hey, this is where we're stuck. This is what we're navigating. And don't get the advice from a couple who's only been married a day longer than you.
Right.
Like, maybe this is where I'm different, but today at Costco, like, I need to remember, I feel like I talk about Costco on my lawn a lot. That's what happens when you turn over 30. But every Friday at Costco, there is 70 and up year old men. And this story might sound weird, but they're military veterans. And they sit there in the cafe and just want to chat and talk to people. There is wisdom in the next generation.
Yeah.
The Bible very clearly talks about passing down knowledge through generation to generation of how great God is. Don't just pick a couple. If you're 34, don't pick a couple that's 35.
Right.
Find a couple that's in their 60s. Yes, the era, or even up, the era might be different and the things they walk through might be different, but there's lessons you can learn from that. And
It's so good.
you're only going to grow as much as you're vulnerable. And so talk to them. And then what they tell you, figure out what works for you as a couple, figure out when you're going to do it, put a date and a time to it because it keeps you more accountable, and then come up with some action steps. Another pastor friend of mine has this rule of 7, where like every 7 days, him and his spouse go on a date. Every 7 weeks, they go on a little vacation, or every 7 months they take a break as a family. If you can't do a rule of 7, find another one. But I would say take a date every single week. If you're trying to make Dave Ramsey happy this new year, dates don't have to be to Michelin star restaurants. They don't have to be to Culver's either. You can have a date in your living room. You can watch a crime drama, but just know she's going to be sobbing on the bed and you're going to die. But play a board game. do something
Mhm.
intentional and fun. That's all
Yeah.
that matters. But those are
Okay.
some things that can kind of get you out of whatever's got you stuck.
I guess all the 70-year-old men with marriage advice are hiding out at Costco. Because the other day that we were there, one of the guys doing, like, the sample cart things, pulls Caden aside and is like, "Hey," how he asked him, like, how long he's been married, and I think it was, like, 4 months at this point, and he was like, "Let me tell you about how I met my wife and how long we've been married and how marriage is great." And then he asked him after, he was like, the older man was like, "What's your favorite Bible verse?" And then he was like, "Let me tell you mine and what it meant to me." And they just had this, like, full-on conversation, and I was going to get something from, like, the cold room, and then I walk out, and Caden's just talking to this guy at the sample cart, and there's, like, a line forming of people behind trying to get a sample, and then just, like, yapping away. I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
They wanted a sample, but they wanted the wisdom too.
Yeah, yeah.
We're secretly
Yeah.
listening in.
Shout out Costco. Feel free to sponsor.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm a big Costco fan.
Oh, no. Yeah, you can do
Just
that too.
kidding.
That's not what I was saying that for.
Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with me about marriage in the middle. We'll definitely have you both on sometime soon. But yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Caroline. You guys are awesome. Continue to pray for you and Caden and
Thank
that awesome Costco guy.
Yeah.
Love it. That's awesome.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Sex Rebranded. If you have a question you want answered or a topic you want to be talked about on the podcast, send us an email at sexrebranded@gmail.com.